I've decided to step out of my comfort zone because when I was first diagnosed with breast cancer, I felt so alone. I didn't know how I was going to get through. And I don't want anybody to ever have to feel that way. Not just with cancer, but anything that they're going through. The thought of people going through it alone, it should never be that way. And I want everybody to know that there is hope, and that with hope, you can get through anything. She is clothed with strength and dignity and laughs without fear of the future. And that's how I want to live my life.
She had the most sweetest personality.
She was so shy. She was so incredibly shy, but so kind, like just the most caring person. Her and I are so different, but there's a lot of things about us that are also the same. So we shared a room all growing up, and so we were constantly fighting about our room. The one thing I can say is that we always came back together. Like, we were so different and so opposite, but we were just so close. And Beck was kind of glued to my side. You'd think that it would kind of be the younger with the older, but Beck was just always right by my side through everything, anything I wanted to do, she was with me.
This is a picture of my mom and biological dad at their senior prom. They were high school sweethearts. Two memories I can remember with my biological dad. One was laying on our driveway at night looking up at the stars. I think that's the memory that I hold on to the most, because my second memory was being pulled over and my older sister coming to get us because he was going to be arrested. He had a lot of mental problems, abused my mom quite a bit, to the point where we got a restraining order against him. My parents got divorced when I was three and a half. He spent some time in jail, and then when he was released, he moved to California. I had heard my mom tell her aunt that my dad was homeless. When I was 12, my mom was on the phone. They asked, she knew Stephen Ruby, and she said, yes, he's my ex-husband. And they told her we found him under a overpass in a coma. He was not gonna wake up. So he was on life support for about 3 days. We all got to see him and everything, and then they pulled the plug and he was gone. And that was a lot harder than growing up and seeing him on the streets, because I knew he was still there when I saw him. But when I saw him in the hospital, I knew that I was never going to see him again.
We went through such traumatic upbringing when she was very young that I turned to the Lord. I got saved in, what was it, 82.
We were just brought up with an understanding of who God is to us, and already going through like trauma growing up, and then the big move to Oregon was really hard on Beck. It was really hard on Beck, and I feel like that's like really where her walk with the Lord started.
My youth leader had us read the DC Talk Martyrs book, Jesus Freaks. I started trying to know this God more. When my mom married my stepdad, Dave, he became a part of our family. We started referring to him as Dad. I have loads and loads of just awesome, fun memories with him. He unfortunately was very abusive towards my mom and caused a lot of pain in my childhood. The time that I thought was going to be the last time I ever saw him, he had tried to punch my brother Josh, and my mom said that was enough, and we left. And I thought I was never going to see him again. But in the sweetness of the Lord, he restored that relationship. He has changed his life, and we have forgiven him, and he has helped quite a bit in my adult life now, and I am very grateful for him. I've always wanted to be a nurse. My passion is more just loving people, which is, something nurses do, but I think I just want to do it in a different capacity now. I would drive by the hematology oncology clinic in Medford and just talk to God and tell him, when I graduate from college, I'm gonna work there. I just wanted to be able to serve them somehow. After high school, I had planned to go to college, and those plans changed. I volunteered at a disabled orphanage in Mexico where we helped take care of kids to adulthood who just various different disabilities, Down syndrome, autism, cerebral palsy, all sorts of things. And it was a very humbling experience. And after that, it just made me want to help and serve people more. One of my dreams had always been to be an au pair somewhere. So I moved to Germany, and I was an au pair there for 6 months. And then after that, I moved to Ireland, and I was an au pair for another family. Best experiences. I was just very blessed, and I was able to travel a lot. And then I went home trying to figure out what I felt that the Lord was calling me to. Again, I tried to go to college, but those doors were closed. And so I was kind of left just trying to figure out what I was supposed to do with my life. And then I went on a trip with my nephew and brother to Yosemite for a couple weeks, and we hiked and everything. And right after we got home, I had taken a shower, got out, and saw a bruise above my right breast, and there was a lump underneath, and that started my journey with cancer.
When Beck found the lump on her chest, she was actually living with me. She took a shower, and she called me into the bathroom and showed the lump to me. And I remember, when she saw it, she didn't even have to say the words cancer for both of our minds to go there. We both saw the lump, and we just thought about my grandma, and I know that's where her mind went too. My heart just kind of sunk, like thinking of that possibility, but also thinking there's no way. Like, she's 23, there's no way.
From an early age, I had a heart for people with cancer. I don't know why. I guess that was, God planting that in me. People don't get breast cancer when they're in their 20s, right? But then I had thought about my grandma, who was in her 60s when she had breast cancer, but I remember seeing her mastectomy, and that flashed in my head. And so I went to my first appointment, and the doctor felt it and said, you're in your 20s, it's probably just a cyst. You know, it happens in young women sometimes, and it's nothing to be worried about. But she said, just in case, let's just do an ultrasound. I went by myself to the ultrasound. Was just trying to protect my mom. The tech started doing the ultrasound over my chest. In about 2 minutes, she got up and she says, I'm gonna go see if one of the doctors are here so they can talk to you. And I sat up and was like, no stinking way. I have cancer. I need my mom. I need to tell her what's going on. But it was so scary.
I was devastated. They had kept it from me. I was traumatized. The last person I thought would have, my mother had it, my grandma had it, and of course you don't want your children to have that. And at first I just almost fell to my knees because I couldn't handle it. If you fall when your kids give you traumatizing events, they'll go down with you. So I try to be strong for her. And at night, though, I would cry.
We went on to talk about surgeons and what I should do and what treatment looks like. The surgeon told me that, in his opinion, a double mastectomy would be the best route for me to go on, just because he said, you're so young, I don't know why this is happening, and I don't want to see you back here in 5 years. But I looked at my new nephew. The moment I met him, he just became like the most special person in the world.
She would do anything for Ollie and Addie.
Still to this day, she is so good with him, and even when she has absolutely no more energy to give, she gives every ounce left to my kids.
She's always there for Ollie and Addie. They bring joy to her.
When Ollie was born, there was just, right off the bat, just this special connection. I guess I could say almost that he's the reason I'm here today. When he was 3 months old, I was diagnosed with stage 1. But trying to decide what route to take, doing lumpectomy or mastectomies, and I was over at Liz's house and just talking with her about what route I should take, and I saw Ollie starting to develop and, starting to lift his head and things like that, and I realized that if I didn't treat the cancer aggressively, I wasn't going to be able to see him grow up. So I went back to them and I told them, I'll do it. I'll do the double mastectomy. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. I guess this one helps me when I'm feeling like what I'm going through is too hard, or I can't do it anymore. I read this and I know that it's not for nothing. He's working in me and through me while I'm going through it. When I woke up from my double mastectomy, and the first thing that I saw was my family surrounding my bed, and I felt so loved by everybody there, and some of my good friends were there. That's when I realized that my chest was gone. That was the first thing that cancer took from me, and I was never going to get it back.
You know, it just doesn't seem fair. I think that's been the hardest thing for me because I'm 3 years younger. I wanted her to experience so much. And especially when she went through it the first time, like I wanted her to be married. I wanted her to be able to have kids. She just had so many dreams and ambitions of what she wanted to do.
I really didn't want to see my chest, but I finally got up the courage when I think my family went to the cafeteria for lunch or something, and I was by myself, and I got up and got out of bed and went into the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror over the sink, and I took off my hospital gown, and everything was gone. And I felt like a little boy who hasn't yet hit puberty and is just like flat-chested and like I didn't feel feminine. I didn't feel like a woman. For a time, I just did not feel beautiful. I would have days where it just didn't feel fair.
You know, something that I felt like God has always taught me and Beck growing up was, how can you take this traumatic or life-threatening thing and make it hopeful, to pull a hope from it. And so I was devastated. I went through bouts of anger. I went through bouts of just utter sadness for her. But then once those emotions kind of subsided, it was just like staying hopeful, you know, taking it and just wanting to help other people in any way. You know, I remember having those conversations with Beck. How can she and we as a family take this on and give out hope to other people?
I had started a diary or a journal just for that season. And on the first page, I wrote, "I'm journaling this because I know that you are good. And I know that you have a plan and that you're working that out even right now as I'm hurting. As much as it sucks, it's a gift. You know, God is allowing me to be a part of His plan. And even though it sucks for me right now in this difficult season, He's letting me be a part of it. Throughout my stay in the hospital, there was always somebody with me to just make things lighter. And that made a difference, I think, for me. I have said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world." This verse means a lot to me because I know that in the world I am promised to go through trials and tribulations and suffering and pain, but I can rejoice because I know that Jesus has already come and saved me. And so I know that if I'm healed here on earth, or if I go home, ultimately I win, and I'll be either healed here or in eternity. So that verse just brings me a lot of comfort. So when I started chemo, it was at the hematology oncology clinic that I had, as a teenager, passed by and wanted to work at. I walked in through the sliding doors and just started laughing. I'm going, God, are you for real? Like, I was thinking I'm gonna, be a nurse here, be an employee here, not a patient.
We made it like a date at the imaging in oncology because we had fun, actually. It was crazy because all the women, all the doctors and nurses in there are just so positive, and they don't say, oh, poor you, poor this. It was amazing. And then we met this amazing woman, Sean.
I remember, she would just be on her knees just praying for a friend, and I would pray for her. God, just bring somebody that she could talk to, that would just understand, and the day she met Sean, it was just like, I remember seeing her face, and it made me so happy to see that instant friendship that was just so cool and made me so happy for Beck.
She had breast cancer, and she was going through it also, and she loved on Beck. She'd bring us a whole her bag full of goodies, snacks and candies and books, magazines, and her and Beck and I would laugh through the whole chemo treatment, and we had fun. We actually laughed and went forward with our feelings and knew the Lord was there. Sean's a strong Christian also.
Gosh, you're joking about these things that are so serious, but to Sean, it was just like her showing back, like, God has allowed this, and we need to make the best of it, and I remember something she would always tell Beck was just enjoy life, enjoy life, enjoy the days that are hard that you're in the infusion room, make the best of it. She would make friends with anybody and everybody around her, and she just enjoyed life, and I think that was the greatest gift that Sean gave to Beck, was just happiness and how to make something that's so hard really beautiful.
I heard from my cardiologist, and he said that I needed to come in that week and we needed to talk. He explained to me I had a congenital heart defect that I had from birth, but it had gone undetected. He said, well, you're gonna need open heart surgery. And I said, cancer just saved my life. I knew then that there was a reason for that pain that I went through. I praise God for the cancer, which revealed the heart defect. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here today. This is January 3rd, 2012. I've been afraid of today for weeks, maybe actually even months. Everyone has been so excited for today because it was my last chemo day. Mom wanted to throw a party, but I can't. I'm afraid. Chemo hasn't been enjoyable, but it has felt safe. And up until today, it was one of those things that kept me going, believing that with chemo, cancer couldn't hurt me again. Up until today, I feel like I've been on autopilot, going through each step necessary to make it to the end, holding my breath for the last 6 months. Today, autopilot turned off. Today, I took a breath for the first time in months. My first instinct has been to hold my breath again, to close my eyes. Sean and I went to see Casa Flores after and got tortilla soup, trying to be good about our doctor's strict diet. I finally got to talk. Sean could just nod her head, and I knew I wasn't alone. Tears ran down my face. Sean didn't need to try to sympathize or understand. She just let me cry. I said to her, "Sean, I'm scared that it can come back now. What do I do?" She smiled her Sean smile and said, "Rebekah Ruby, when it comes back, you fight. In between cancer, what you do is live, and never to forget that." After I had finished chemo the first time, one of the things that my friend Sean had told me was to live. So my niece Amarissa and I decided to take a backpacking trip to Europe. I had lived there previously and wanted to show her just the beauty of Europe. And it was just amazing. We had so much fun going from Barcelona to Paris, and then from Paris on to Germany. I felt alive again, I guess. And it was so needed after all that time with cancer and everything. And I just felt like it was another gift from God to show me that I can live after cancer. I just felt like it was time to live again. And so I moved down to Orange County, California. The first day, my younger sister and her husband and their kids came to help me unpack, and then they went home. I would just lay on my bed and be like, "What were you thinking? Like, why would you move all the way down here and your sister lives like an hour away and you don't know anyone?" I need to figure out how adults make friends. I was like, all my friends are, from either elementary or, after high school and stuff. So I found this site called meetup.com, and they have just a bunch of different groups for everything. So I found one that was for Christian singles, and they would do outings like hiking and beach stuff, but they'd also do Bible studies. A couple of days later, I got an email from this guy who was just like, "Hey, I'm new to the this group as well. Do you want to email?" So we started emailing, and he's my husband now.
Before we ever dated, we talked on the phone, and the first night we talked, it was for like 7 hours. It was like being back in junior high again.
When Joel and I first started talking, I told him that laughing was like the most important thing to me.
Our first date was down in Dana Point Harbor, and she was late, about an hour late.
Our first date was hours long because we were just talking about life and about stuff we've been through. And
because of all the cancer that she'd been through earlier, because of her shyness, she had, and she'd also traveled the world. She'd been to Germany and Ireland and Mexico, and I was basically her first date. And when she got out of the car, we started walking down the alleyway, and she basically kind of took off. And she was walking like really fast, like she was trying to get away from me almost. I think she was nervous, and I was nervous too.
He makes me laugh every day. I love laughing. And so he makes sure that I laugh a lot.
I was very skeptical, to say the least. I was just nervous for her and protective. She had met him online, and so I was nervous for that too. It took some time to really get to know Joel. I just knew that there are so many good qualities about Joel that are so complementary to Beck. They just totally complete each other, and so many different ways, and I could just see the support system that Joel was for Beck, and his desire to support her and desire to see Beck be able to help people on a bigger platform and do more for other people.
He's an incredible hard worker, and he blends right into our family, and I love that. He's good with all the kids, and he's a good daddy.
I love Joel. I love that he's so supportive of Beck. I love that he's there to encourage her. He's there to sit and just understand Beck and listen to Beck is just so huge.
They're there for each other, and that's good. That's a blessing. That's what the Lord wants.
He has just stood by her side through all of this. I know that was a big concern for me. I was just so happy to see him be that support for Beck that she needed and wanted.
I knew 3 months into dating her that I was going to marry her. And actually 3 months into it, I was already shopping and doing my homework on finding a ring. It was her heart. Her heart really just grabbed me. And I knew that this was like a woman that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. It didn't seem like a rocket that's shooting up full of passion, you know, and it's going to fizzle out in 6 months or a year or 2 years. There was some substance to it. It was solid. Our relationship was built on God and His Word and truth. We had also both been through some pretty broken experiences. This is the journal that Rebekah gave me on the day of our wedding, actually right before I walked out. This is a journal that she started writing several years before we ever even met, and it's titled For My Husband. So she was writing this journal to her future husband, who she didn't even know yet, which happened to be me. She's the kindest person that I've ever met, and there really is something unique about her. It's like an angelic quality. She really hurts for other people. I mean, many times we're driving down the street and we'll see a homeless person, and in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, why doesn't that guy get a job? What's his problem? He's on drugs. And I look over and she's crying. She has like this amazing heart that just cares deeply for people and suffering people. She's just beautiful to me. Thank you for allowing me to come before you, to share my concern and to truly listen to all of my problems, Father. Thank you for caring about each one. Lord, I'm so thankful that you have already picked out my husband. I know at times I freak because I worry he doesn't really exist, but you know my heart and you hear my desires, Father. Please bring him to me quickly and safely. She often ended with, please bring him to me quickly. We were both coming out of brokenness in very different ways, but God had used that like the potter to mold each one of us into these people that when we finally did meet, we were ready for each other. I lift up my husband to you wherever he might be. Thank you for him, Lord. If he is lonely right now, be his best friend. If he is cold, please warm him. If he is sad, comfort him. If he lacks hope, Lord, please give him hope. Bless my husband, Father. Bring him laughter. I pray that he would be drawing near to you, leaning on you for everything. Guide him, Father. I pray he would be a great leader. Bless his family and bring him to me quickly. I love you, Lord. And the interesting thing about this is when she was writing this, about 3 years before we met is when I was going through the hardest time of my life. When I was in the depths of my brokenness, she was praying this for me. And many of these journal entries reflect her praying for me to be strong and to have hope and praying that God would comfort me. We were dating for, 10 months, whatever. And she decided she was going to go back up to Oregon and visit her family. I, in the meantime, had been working with her sister behind the scenes, her older sister, had it orchestrated to where Rebekah flies out to Oregon, and then I fly out to Oregon right after her without telling Rebekah. And I came walking out and surprised her, and she was like in shock and didn't understand what I was doing in Oregon. So I got down on one knee and I had everything in my head planned of what I was going to say, and nothing worked, and I just basically just kind of flustered my way through it and proposed, and she said yes.
We got married in Oregon at the church I went to in high school. Not only becoming a wife, I became a stepmom to Joel's kids, Kyla and Logan.
So this is after we've been dating for a little bit. September 24th, 2013. I've never met anyone like him. It's almost as if I dreamed him up because I can't believe he's real. Even though he stands right in front of me, and I know he is real. I've guarded my heart for so long, I almost think he must be too good to be true. Help me to believe you desire good for me, so I don't ruin what's in front of me. Give me patience, Father. I pray you would bless him daily, Father. Show him reasons he has to smile each morning. I ask that his kids would know you, would love you, and seek after you. And the whole journal goes on and on like that. I remember asking her, were you ever angry or mad with God because of being so young at 23 and having to go through cancer and double mastectomy and losing your hair? And I said, were you ever mad? And she said no. And I remember that really surprised me because I had gotten mad at God quite a bit. And that's something that he had to teach me. When I first got it, I glanced at it and I read through some of them. And, I thought it was amazing, but I was about to go get married. And so it kind of got tucked away. We moved. More recently, I found it on our bookshelf. And I pulled it out one night when she was sleeping and I read through it. And I read through the whole thing, sitting next to her in bed. And I was just blown away. I couldn't believe how accurate so many of these prayers were, that she was praying for this man she didn't know yet. And this man she was praying for was to be her future husband, but he was in the midst of his own brokenness and his own pain and suffering. And she was praying to God for comfort and healing and strength and wisdom. And it's exactly what I needed at the time, even though we didn't know each other. And then I read through it and was just amazed at what kind of woman I have, what kind of gift God has blessed me with.
I was so happy for her. So happy for her. I remember when she went through it the first time, and I remember her telling me, I just wish there was somebody a husband, a boyfriend, a significant other, that I had to go through with it, like a support system. And she would always tell me, it's not that I don't feel alone, because she had God and she had her family, but I remember her telling me one time, it's so hard to not have that rock, that stability. And so it was comforting for me knowing that she had Joel. The second time around, knowing that she did have that rock and she did have that stability. But I do know for everybody, you fear, how is the other person going to be able to handle it? How is the spouse going to be able to take this on? Because just like it's hard to watch a loved one go through it.
So it was about 8 months into our marriage. We were both working and got to this point where she had these really bad back pains.
I was working as a barista and on my feet all day. I had a lot of back pain and thought it was probably from that. Memorial Day weekend, 2015, I had such bad back pain. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't stand. I was in so much pain.
So I said, babe, we got to go to the ER. So I took her down to Mission ER.
We were just in the exam room, just kind of joking and stuff. And the doctor came in and told us that she had seen masses in my kidneys, liver, lungs, hip bone, and suggested that I visit my oncologist. And Joel and I were just shocked. I turned to Joel and told him, or asked him, just please don't stay mad at God. We got married 8 months ago, you know? This doesn't happen when I haven't had him long enough. And I knew that if she was saying she found masses in my kidneys and liver, that it had spread, which meant that I had stage 4. And if I had stage 4, there's not a cure.
Next day, we got into our car and drove up to Oregon and talked to our oncologist up there.
Told him that I had been having light headaches on and off, but they had seemed to be getting better, and he said, let's just do a brain MRI just to be sure about all of this. And he said, I have found at least 9 lesions in your brain, multiple lesions in your lungs, your kidneys, your liver, your hip bone. And he said, you have stage 4 breast cancer.
When her Oregon oncologist told us the news, it's like nothing goes through your head, but a million things go through your head. And it's just like shock and pain. It's the worst type of news, just because we both knew what stage 4 cancer meant.
Joel and I just both broke down. I just didn't expect to have to walk through something so difficult so early in our marriage. I felt so sorry for Joel, and I remember telling him over and over, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Knowing that it wasn't my fault, but knowing that it's gonna cause him so much pain.
Both of our lives were like a pair of binoculars, and you know, they're all blurry, and you're turning and turning, and finally they start to come into clarity. By the time we had gotten married, we had come out of such confusion and darkness that by the time we got married, it was like the binoculars were just starting to get clear again. You know, and the future, we could see the future. We had plans, we had dreams, and in 1 minute, on the oncologist's words to us, the future just went black again. One of the oncologists up in Oregon had said, you basically have 4 to 6 months to live.
I just couldn't believe that this man was trying to tell me that in at most 6 months I won't be here. I won't be with my husband or my mom, and I'll be gone. And that was really hard to accept. I wouldn't accept it. I felt in my heart that I had more time than that.
I don't remember her telling me not to get angry at God. I think probably a lot of things were said that I don't remember just because of so much junk going on in my own head. I think I had reached a point of kind of being past that, because I was angry with God for a lot of stuff that happened to me, and there's a lot of pleading with God, a lot of pleading and praying for a miracle, for healing. I'd asked God why so many times throughout my Christian life, and there's no answer, at least, you know, for a lot of these things. And so I knew that was not the right question. Okay, this is where we're at. We need you now.
The following night, we went to my church up in Oregon and asked the pastor I know to pray over me. And I told him, I know that God has more for me. I know that this is not the end, you know, and he said, we'll cling to that hope. So this is a note that my mom gave to me not long after my reoccurrence with stage 4 breast cancer. So it says, "Precious princess, you are the best daughter a mom could ask for. I love you forever. Take care of you and Joel. You are a survivor. Love, your mama." I had heard good things about City of Hope in Duarte, California, and had decided that's where I would prefer to be treated. Joel and I prayed, and my family prayed, and an oncologist picked my case, and she was fantastic. Just a really hopeful doctor. These days for breast cancer, they have a lot of treatments. There's, a line A, B, C, D. We have so many plans. You're going to be okay. And that really helped reassure both Joel and I and gave us hope. So I would go every 3 weeks for about 4 hours or so and have treatment. Got through that, and my tumor markers started dropping, and burdens just kind of, coming off. Everything looked good. The cancer in my hip wasn't active. It was just causing pain, so we left it for the time being. Joel and I decided to go on a cruise to kind of celebrate that and our 2nd anniversary and everything. So we went on the cruise, and it was absolutely incredible and just so restful, and just very needed to get away and be able to spend quality time away from hospitals, away from work, and it was just great. The week after we got back, I had more scans to see how my body was doing, and I got a phone call from my oncologist, and he said that lesions had returned to my brain. There were 5 that needed to be taken care of. Some of them had already been there but just had grown, and then there were a couple that were new. And so because I had already had whole brain radiation, this time I had targeted brain radiation. So each of the tumors were individually radiated. I realized that that vacation was rest for us to have that week or so together to come back and be strong enough to keep going. Another just sweet thing that the Lord did for us. One of the other verses that has really impacted me is in 2 Corinthians 1, where it talks about the God of all comfort, who comforts us in our time of need, so that we're then able to comfort others who are going through what we went through. And I'm so honored to be able to be that person for other cancer patients. There's this one time Joel and I were at Sprouts grocery shopping, and I was looking for Joel actually, and I kept hearing somebody behind me saying, "Excuse me, ma'am, excuse me," and I didn't think they were talking to me, but it didn't stop. She kept saying, "Excuse me," so I turned around. She looked at me and she said, "My daughter just wants to meet you." And I said, "Oh, I'd love to meet her. Where is she?" And she said, "She's right here." And I looked down, and there's this little girl with a beanie and a hoodie on. And she took her hood and her beanie off, and she was bald. And it was just one of the most precious moments I've experienced. And I asked her if I could give her a hug, and she just wrapped herself around my waist So in trying to understand, sometimes when we ask why, it's because God is trying to make something beautiful happen from ashes that couldn't happen without experiencing whatever struggle it is. I'm not going through this for nothing. That he's working and he's creating something bigger than I could have ever imagined for my life. 2 Corinthians 12:8-10 says, 3 times I pleaded with the Lord about this, that it should leave me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. In my weakness, he's strong. It means that my strength comes from him and I can rest in him.
Rebekah speaks of cancer as like a gift that, a gift that God has given her. There are hidden blessings to cancer. For us in our marriage, it's been, our love is more precious and tender. I mean, we rarely ever fight, because you realize that life is way more important than most of the crap that we bicker about and get bitter about and hold grudges about. Something has triggered where we realize it's not worth it. You're forced to shift your priorities and to evaluate what matters most. And what matters most is like people and love in our hearts. And so our love is real special and tender, and we don't take each other for granted.
I can be real. I can tell him that I'm scared and I don't want to leave him. And he'll just listen. And I think that's the biggest thing. He'll just listen. He doesn't tell me, that's not what you should be feeling. He lets me take my time and process through the feelings that I have, and doesn't make me feel like it's wrong to feel what I'm feeling.
In the Bible, it says when two people get married, they are one flesh, like united in spirit and body and soul. And cancer, when it takes part of her, it takes part of me. The more of her dies, the more of me dies. When she's in pain, I'm in pain. It's so important to commit ahead of time that no matter what happens, you're not going to give up on each other. You're not going to run. We have met cancer patients whose spouses bailed on them because they couldn't take it. I took vows.
Every day he'll ask me how I'm doing. Am I okay, or where I'm at? God has just sweetly connected us and intertwined us in a way that when he can tell I'm feeling something, he'll take the time to sit down and work through it with me.
I think that it's very hard for people to know how to love somebody through cancer, through a sickness and illness, especially when it affects them day to day. Seeing what they need and paying attention to needs without even being asked. The biggest blessings that she has received are those that people gave to her without even asking. Because a lot of times those that are going through cancer or illness, they don't want to be an inconvenience. They don't want to be told what to do. It's just people don't understand the inner struggles that people have with sickness. And a lot of times saying something can do more harm than good. So silently praying and doing things without recognition, I think is just huge.
Showing them love and care and thoughtfulness, being there for them And that's very important to me, to show her that we're here. No matter what, we're here.
From the moment we got the diagnosis in Oregon, our life was turned upside down. Everything changed. I mean, life in a lot of ways now revolves around cancer. It's trying to kill her. And so I have to try to do everything I can in my daily life to keep that from happening. And that might just be making her tea, or it may be taking her to the hospital or to the doctor, or picking up medication, or figuring out something with the insurance, or praying for her. But cancer has definitely thrown a monkey wrench in life and changed everything. Cancer takes a lot away from people. It steals a lot. And so you have to fight to try to keep that from happening. And I don't know, fighting for her, fighting to help her not know she has cancer, helping her to feel beautiful and normal.
So much research, so much time on the internet just trying to figure out what was best. People, with good hearts, good intentions, send me, this is the cure-all for cancer, eat turmeric or eat the pit inside of an apricot and you're gonna be healed. So Joel's very good at going online, researching and saying, this is maybe something that we should try, and that is something we are never gonna look at. I was put into what they call near complete remission, not full remission, because with stage 4, there's probably something somewhere, so they can't definitively tell me that it's gone. It was like a burden had just fallen off of us, and it was just awesome, wonderful, and we really took advantage of it and just stopped thinking about the cancer so much and just enjoying life and not taking the time I have for granted. I was thinking about going on one of those boats.
A fishing boat? You want to go fishing?
Deep sea fishing.
Humor is a huge part of our life. I love to goof off and I love to be silly and I joke with her. When we first met, one of the first things she said that she likes is she loves to laugh. And it's really good because I'm super funny. And so
Joel loves dancing for me.
that's a good workout.
And I enjoy watching it. Laughter is important because it's just beautiful. It's levity and it's, I can't imagine a life without laughter. I just love laughing. I love laughing at stupid little jokes. I love laughing at Joel. I love laughing at, with my Ollie and Addie. I just, laughter is, I think, one of the keys to happiness. I think joy is important because I feel like it takes away from myself. I heard that joy stands for Jesus, others, yourself. So when you take that attention off of yourself and instead of feeling sorry for yourself and where you're at in life, putting your attention onto other people helps you forget and realize that you are not the only person who is going through something really hard. Well, I love that cane. We were in Old Town Orange and I had this just plain black cane and saw that one and just decided it was perfect, and we named it Winnie. Yesterday we were at Dana Point Harbor just walking along the harbor, and I was holding on to Winnie just barely. It was kind of more leaning against the rails, and somehow she slipped through the rails and fell into the water. Just so happened, a gentleman was on his little boat. So we asked him to try and grab it for us out of the water. He did, and he threw it up to Joel, and Joel caught it. A sparrow flying away to heaven, and it says, "I'll fly away" on the banner. I got this tattoo after my friend Sean passed away from stage 4 breast cancer. Sean is she's the most incredible woman I think I've ever met, aside from my mom. And she loved birds so much. One of her favorite hymns was "I'll Fly Away." And for the last 2 weeks or so of her time here on earth, she would close her eyes and just say, "I'll fly away," and sing the hymn. I guess it's important that I show people hope and encouragement and love and joy, because when I was first diagnosed with stage 1, I would get on my knees and ask God to send me a friend who understood what I was going through. And he sent me Sean. After Sean passed, all I wanted was to be able to give to somebody else what Sean gave to me.
Rebekah Jean Ruby Hughes is an incredible daughter. She's so intelligent and so loving and kind that she draws people.
She can take this, what God has allowed, and spread that hope. Is a drive in and of itself, is knowing that she's making a difference in other people's lives is huge.
The reason I wanted to call this a brave hope is because of something Rebekah says to me a lot. She'll say, "But I'm brave." And she says it in kind of like a little girl voice, and like a joking little girl voice. Interesting thing about Rebekah is that she's not brave with so many things in life. Like, she's actually a scaredy cat. She's afraid of the dark. Literally, she can't be in a different room, without me if it's dark. I cannot tell scary stories. I cannot scare her, jump up and try to scare her. I've gotten in a lot of trouble doing those things. But when it comes to cancer, somehow she's brave.
So right now I'm in what they call a near complete remission. The lifespan is typically, months up to maybe 5 years. There are some people that, by the grace of God, have lived more than 15 years. And that's definitely my hope.
So that strength and braveness that she has to face cancer comes because she knows the transcendent living hope. It's outside of herself. It's outside the medications and the food and whatever. She has that childlike faith in her God, and that gives her a braveness to face cancer because she's not afraid of death. Her fear of death is she's afraid of leaving me, and she's afraid of leaving her family. She's afraid of the pain that we'll go through. As far as dying, she's pretty confident in her God.
My faith has carried me through this journey, and without it, I don't think I would be here right now. The knowledge of knowing that I am never alone. When I have those scary times by myself, that I can turn to Him, and I know that He's holding me and He is carrying me through this scary season. Now may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, that you may abound in hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Hope in the Bible is knowing that something is going to come to fruition and trusting that. And in so doing, you're able to find joy and strength and peace. Well, first I wanted to thank everybody for taking the time to hear my story. And oftentimes I have people thank me for willing to share my life, but really it's an honor to be able to comfort other people that are in pain. My calling in life is just to love people. And in doing that, that means I share my deepest struggles and fears and pain to show people that they're not the only people that feel that way. Pain and struggle helps build character in each and every one of us. Live your life and don't take what you have for granted, whatever that is. Love where you're at and love the people around you and even strangers, because that can change a person. At City of Hope in the front, there's a plaque that says there is always hope. To everybody who's watching, there's always hope, and don't give up.